individual from society and from the structure of having a leader, a government, no respect for parents, no respect for leadership, no respect for establishment, and there's a powerful psychology that they use that causes arrogance. So we have to look out for arrogance. Although your child may appear to be a star, or the young people amongst you, they may, they dress, nowadays they dress better than we do, and although we may be the breadwinners in the house, they might drive a better car than you do, they get more accolades. That's why Imam never bragged about how many degrees he had, or what education and where that came from, because those aren't the important things. So long as you give credit to Allah first, and you know the reason behind your success. I don't have to tell you how to teach your children, but we have people amongst us that are looking for our children solely because they're born of us. And this is a problem, and this is an issue that's internal. That quite often you have people from our own community that are trying to pull us out of our community and send us somewhere else. And it's not fair. It's not fair to our immigrant brothers that are here, Muslims that are just as close to you, if not closer to you, than your own blood brothers that love the Quran and love Allah on an equal basis as you. It's not fair for us to give all the blame to them, because let's say if some of them have been influenced, and maybe we consider some of the believers, that some of the brothers and sisters, African American, that come from our community, we'll say, well, he's just an agent. But did anybody drag him back amongst us to try to influence us to leave our own, or to leave Imam W. Muhammad? Nobody drugged them in there to do that. And I don't see them amongst us trying to take from us. I see them trying to help. So we need to be more honest with ourselves, that quite often we're our own worst enemy. We're our own worst enemy. We're sometimes the worst influence. If someone says a negative thing, or if someone teaches you a negative thing, the best thing, what I've learned to do, is to not repeat it. Because I noticed even in our communities, you rarely, predominantly African American community, you rarely see Caucasians in the neighborhood. Not to say that I'm not speaking of a majority of Caucasians, because I grew up in a predominantly African American neighborhood, so I know nothing about the majorities. I only know a few that come in our neighborhoods, and they often, you'll see them being very kind and friendly to young guys, especially those that look like they may not have a lot of direction, that's hanging out on the corner. And if you get close enough to find out what are they saying to them, if they don't look like Jehovah's Witness, most likely they ain't Jehovah's Witness. They're not trying to lead them to Jehovah or anybody like that. They're teaching them things that are bad for them and bad for their future. I've seen like the gang bangers. So we have to look out for the influences. Older people trying to pull our children. And when you see our children's disposition change from a positive one from a productive one to one that we should read that book to study the schemes of Satan that Imam Muhammad gave us. That when they display those schemes of Satan, you have to be like a fierce warrior, and you have to cut it down. You don't be soft against evil and against wrongdoing. You can't. There's no subtle way to approach it. Now, don't make any mistakes. You have to have the human heart. You have to be a Muslim. Now, Muslim, I don't fear a Muslim going to extreme. A Muslim has balance. But when you see evil and you see injustice and you see wrong, you should be firm and strong against it. You shouldn't be soft. So we have to fight the tendencies in us to be submissive and to be weak. Because any family, it starts with love and nurturing from a good parent, and the future depends on the youth and depends on the young people that we raise up. That if we don't have youth, we don't have a future. And we all know this. And the biggest issue that we have facing us today, that's threatening to make us almost extinct as a people, is the loss of our youth. Not just in a spiritual sense, but the loss of our youth physically in the streets. Because if you don't have the right guidance, then you're left to the devices of the world, and ultimately you can lose your life. You lose your soul first, and then you lose your life. And that's happening to too many of us. That once the family is broken down, then the potential for the community is lost. So you see a lot of the young men, our society has a mentality. I was discussing with a brother earlier today. There's a mindset that in the culture, I'm not sure of the right language to use to explain it, but there's a mindset of survival of the fittest, and that's a dangerous concept to have in position of power and leadership. If you have the power to help all, and to help all weak, and to help anyone that needs your help, then you should never subject them to the rule of survival of the fittest, because that's not a fair situation. The strong, as our security, our community service leader always says, that he quotes Imam Deen Mohammed as saying that the responsibility of the strong is to look after the weak. So you always help them. You see their faults, but if you can, you try to overlook them. You pull them away from the wrong that they're doing and try to help them until they're strong enough to lead themselves. So alhamdulillah, this is a beautiful situation and a beautiful community that we have. And the opposition and the problems that we have, they're very, very basic. That as Muslims, I can't quote exactly what Brother Osama Jamal just said, but he spoke right to the core of the problem. He was saying that the believer or the Muslims, that we have to be moral. What's the word he used? We have to build upon our moral capital. That is our greatest strength. And having a moral capital, the weakest strength of use of it is just to have it in your heart. That our moral capital that we have, it has to be put into action. That's the only way. That's the only way we'll have progress in the future. Alhamdulillah. I don't plan on taking up much more time. There's a program here, and I know many of you have been sitting in your seats for a long time, and I want to enjoy the rest of the program. And so I'm going to turn it over to Imam Mohammed right now. Thank you.